This is Fred Beck from Fred Beck Fighting, proudly sponsored by Empire Fight Store. And today I'm very lucky, joined by, once again, Jamie Bourne from Fred Beck Boxing. Jamie, this is our first interview of 2022. How you been?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. Yeah, been a busy start to the year. Thanks for having me back on. Always look forward to joining you for some boxing chat, and I'm all good. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's good. I can always rely on you because it's Amir Khan as Kell Brook fight week. And I'm feeling, okay, I need to get someone on. You can talk about that fight and a few other fights, and you're the man to do it. So I've noticed you put a video out 20 minutes. That's quite a long time to talk straight for a camera for that one fight, but it is a big fight. Give me a rundown for Kell Brook and Amir Khan, Jamie.
Well, it's not the fight that it once could have been or should have been. Obviously, for whatever reasons, I think a couple of times now, 2015, 2018, it could have happened twice. But we now get it here. And listen, I know a lot of people pretend not to be excited for it. I think most people aren't as emotionally invested nowadays. I think before people were big Amir Khan fans and big Kell Brook fans, and you kind of sat on the side of the fence. I don't think that's really there anymore, but I think people are still going to watch it. I still think the buys will do pretty well. And ultimately, rather than, in the past when it was about, is it Amir Khan's skill? Is it about Kell Brook's timing and power? It could just be now which one of them is physically more able to hang in there, because they've had a lot of miles on the clock now. But I'm looking forward to it, to be honest. I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Did you see kind of the face-to-face they did with Johnny Nelson? Where kind of like a round table. Did you watch that? How kind of relaxed Amir Khan was?
Yeah, I watched that. I always try and watch them. I think they do a good job with them. I think Johnny Nelson does quite a good job of just sort of sitting back and just sort of like poking the fire every so often and just letting them go at it. But I thought Amir Khan sort of living in Kell Brook's head rent free almost at times. I thought everything he said just seemed to set Kell Brook off. Kell Brook couldn't think of a quick, witty response. Reminded me a bit of the first Groves and Froch fight, where Groves just seemed to have Froch's number. Yeah, I thought Khan got the better of that exchange for sure.
Yeah, well, I'm actually watched it. I did see someone talk about it. I think it was on Instagram, so I have to check it out after this. But I spoke to actually before we talk about any rematch clauses or anything like that. Who do you think is going to win though, Jamie? What's the prediction?
To be honest, I think either of them are more than capable. It's one of those fights where, like, I don't just say this lightly, but any result wouldn't be shocking in my opinion. I just think both of them aren't quite as physically able anymore. So I see this fight ending in 6 rounds, whether that be a Kell Brook knockout or Amir Khan. I fear that with the weight and stuff that Amir Khan might just have a slight advantage. So I'm leaning towards him at the minute.
Do you know about the rehydration clause in this fight? Is there one?
Yeah, there is a rehydration clause. Obviously, so the weight is set at 149, and I think they're allowed to go up to 163 in the rehydration. Which for Khan, I imagine is not too much of an issue. I imagine Kell would like to go a bit higher than that, so we'll see how it affects him.
Okay, that's interesting. I knew about the 149 weight limit, but I didn't know about the rehydration clause of 163. And when I talked to Adam Smith on Zoom, he was saying there's going to be a rematch. Or there's a rematch clause, but if it's controversial or if it's a really good fight, there will be a rematch. Do you see the possibility of there being a rematch in this fight?
So if Amir Khan wins, I don't think there will be a rematch. But if Kell Brook does, I think there could be. Obviously, it depends on the circumstances. But I said in my own video that Amir Khan has made a career, but also been sort of enjoying himself over the last couple of years of just keeping Kell Brook waiting. And now, if Kell Brook were to win this fight, I'm sure he'd have a few offers on the table. Sky have mentioned the possibility of him fighting Chris Eubank Jr. I think Conor Benn, Eddie Hearn always mentions that for Kell Brook as well. So he has some options. And I think Amir Khan, if he lost, would maybe just play spoiler once again in the career of Kell Brook and go, no, I want a rematch, and just delay things a bit longer.
Do you think it's the last fight? Say there's no rematch. Do you think it's the last fight for both boxers, or do you think even might have a career after this? Do you think this is the last round of the dice?
I think it's more likely for Amir Khan the last throw of the dice. He's made so much money. I think he's achieved everything he's wanted to achieve. I feel like Kell Brook doesn't necessarily feel like he's achieved everything he wants to achieve. So I can see him potentially sticking around a bit longer. And if he wins, I do think that Eubank fight's a possibility. Maybe a rematch is a possibility. And I think Kell Brook is just going to be, off his name alone, he will want to sort of continue because he feels like there's money left on the table.
Yeah, certainly. It's gonna be good. It's pay-per-view. Do you know how much it costs on Sky?
I haven't looked. I'm sure it would probably be £19.95 or whatever it is. I doubt they've gone up to 25 for this. So yeah, I'd imagine it's that.
Okay, that's all right then. And just a couple more fights do want to touch on. We got February's quite a good month for boxing. I know we had no boxing in the month of January, which was, I guess, for your channel must have been quite annoying considering you talk about it all the time. Oh, for all boxing channels, it would have been annoying. But the month of January, you also got Josh Hill and Jack Catterall. Do you think a lot of people underestimating Jack Catterall in this fight, or do you think Josh Hill is that good?
I think it's a bit of both. I think people are probably underestimating Jack Catterall because Josh Taylor is so good. I don't think it's necessarily downplaying Jack Catterall's ability. I think people just really believe in Josh Taylor at the moment. And if you're going to talk about levels, Josh Taylor's obviously proven himself to be at the very top, and Jack Catterall hasn't really done that. He's had a lot of inactivity, a lot of frustration as he waits for this opportunity. So I think most people's assessments are probably fair, to be honest.
Okay, how do you see that fight going though? That's in Edinburgh Castle, Josh Hill's hometown. The atmosphere will be good.
Yeah, I think Josh Taylor is just a step above, and he's too good. I also think with the home crowd sort of willing him on a little bit, he'll look for that stoppage later on in the fight as well. So I do think he wins regardless of the outcome, but I do think he'll try and put on a late stoppage.
Do you see Josh Taylor staying if he wins? Do you think he stays in 140? Do you think he moves up?
I think he'll move up. I think he's sort of in that position now where all of the belts, he's kind of been able to become undisputed. He's going to be able to defend in Scotland. But after that, it then becomes you've got mandatory after mandatory after mandatory. And I don't think that's necessarily what he's kind of looking for. There's a lot of dangerous fighters at 140. So I'm sure he'll be just looking to go up and get those big paydays.
So if he goes up, will it be instantly mandatory for the guys at welterweight? Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, Ugas, will be mandatory for one of those fighters if he relinquishes his belts down at welterweight. Sorry, down at super lightweight.
So the WBO, if you're WBO champion and you move up, you do get to go in as the number one challenger. So perhaps that would work with the Terence Crawford situation. Perhaps they could force that. With the other ones, I don't think he would get that sort of preferential treatment. But yeah, I'd imagine that the Crawford fight is probably the one he'll sort of pursue the most, because the other guys just being with PBC and stuff, it may be difficult.
Okay, I can see that Crawford fight happening, isn't he? Because Spence will be going. Spencer goes fighting against Ugas. Crawford's going to need a big opponent, and then there's Josh Taylor for him right there. But Jamie, thanks so much talking to me again. It's always good having you on, a good regular of the channel. So I'll put your channel link in the description, but where will we find you on Instagram, Twitter, etc.?
So Twitter and Instagram is Punch Perfect Box, so you can find me on there, just all one word. Thanks for having me on, Fred. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. I'll catch up soon then, Jamie. Thanks again for your time.
Cheers, mate.